The Hogo Game of the Week is provided by Abingdon Equipment, Appalachian Plastics, Big M Farm Service, Carter's Pharmacy, Glade Pharmacy, Political Dogs, Serber & Son. Make sure you watch and listen at HogoGameDay.com. Hello and welcome to Marion High School here for the Game of the Week here on the Hoga Radio Network. This is Dylan Hutton along with Travis DeBus. We're set for a night of action here between two 2A schools ranked in the top 5 in their standings. So, of course, Union is ranked 4th, Marion ranked 5th. Big matchup, a lot on the line here tonight at Marion High School. Two high-octane offenses.
Yeah, this should be a very exciting ball game. We expect to see a lot of points. I'll be certainly surprised if both teams don't get up more than 30, 40 points in this game tonight. We're currently sitting here watching the Union Bears warm up. They made the journey over from Wise County, take on Marion tonight, and this is a very athletic-looking football team as we look down on the field. But we know Marion's got some weapons too. Most importantly, their number one weapon is their running back, Sam Wagner, so we look for him to make big news tonight. But Union's just got a ton of weapons.
Yeah, whenever you turn around and look at Union, all the weapons at wide receiver, starting with number 7, Jay Gavin, number 8, Bryce Spears, number 12, Austin Jesse, and number 32, Rashawn Noakes. He also will be playing a running back. They've got a lot of weapons, and, of course, they got the freshman that's made a lot of noise so far this year. Number 82, you'll hear his name a lot tonight, James Mitchell, 6'3", 200-pound freshman, athletic, big-time basketball player for the Union Bears as well. So very athletic football team, two athletic teams clashing here tonight. Weather's expecting to drop down and get fairly cool. We're not expecting it to mess up anything as far as scoring, though. But with that, let's go ahead and recap what happened last week for Hogo Game Day. We had a great show at Patrick Henry High School, live video pregame. Had a lot of fun with that, a good crowd. Probably one of our better atmospheres.
Yeah, the pregame show was a whole lot of excitement. The Rebel fans come out. They were ready. They were geared up for a great ball game. Unfortunately, when it came game time, that game ended just as quickly as it begun. With still over 6 minutes to play in the first quarter. George Wythe already had the lead in that game.
Marion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The train messed you up. That's all right.
Marion already had the lead in that game, 21-0, and Patrick Henry never could get anything rolling.
Yeah, it was really a tough night for the Rebels as they were defeated 54-21. We'll recap some of those games and a whole lot more and look ahead to tonight's matchups in the Hoga coming up next on Hogo Game Day. We'll be right back. Keep up with all the action in the Hogo.
But Marion's going to take over here on the 10-yard line, right in the red zone. That handoff to Wagner up the middle. There's a lot of Warriors in the backfield. Here comes Wagner around the edge, diving in. Touchdown.
Like us on Facebook, Hogo Game Day. Follow us on Twitter at Hogo Game Day. And check out our very own website, www.hogogameday.com.
It's gonna be a good time. It's a small town. Throw down. It's time to tall board up. Let them tailgates down, and then it's on tonight.
Welcome back to Marion Senior High School in Marion, Virginia for your Hoagie Game Day Game of the Week. It's a non-conference matchup, but a divisional matchup between the visiting Union Bears and the Marion Scarlet Hurricane, and we expect to see an offensive shootout here tonight. Let's recap some of the action in the Hoagie District last week, beginning with our Hogo Player of the Week, Trey Skeens.
It was really a no question. Yet again, another week for big game Trey. Trey Skeens coming out again for the Maroons. He had 288 yards, and that's not a typo. 288 yards, 21 carries, 3 TDs, and 1 receiving touchdown. It's hard to have a much better night than that. 3-time player of the week this season. Of course, that was his second straight, and he is the first ever 3-time winner for the player of the week for Hogahigi.com. So a big congratulations to Trey Skeens. Had a couple players have pretty good weeks, but nothing could compare to almost 300 yards rushing.
Golly, that's an incredible night. And George Wythe did go on to win that game Friday night over Chilhowie Warriors. They were in Chilhowie. They won that game 42-20. George Wythe has now beaten Chilhowie 9 straight times. The last time the Warriors beat the Rocky Ramoons, I was just out of high school back in 1996.
So yeah, it's been a little while, hasn't it?
It's been a while. Trey Skeens will go on to mention in that game he also broke the single game rushing record for George Wythe. 288 yards. I believe he broke that for any team anywhere around.
There aren't many teams that rush for that many yards.
There's not many teams that gain that many yards combined in a game.
That's what I was thinking. And then, of course, George Wythe's above 500 for the first time this year. They're finally back, I believe, as far as offensively. They're hitting on all cylinders. Another game last week took place in Saltville, Virginia. Northwood played Holston and won that game pretty handily, 52-7.
Yeah, we took a little bit of a gasp when we were broadcasting our game last week. We got the score update from that Northwood-Holston game. Holston actually jumped out to a 7-0 lead. We thought, my goodness, maybe Northwood's still a little hungover from taking that beat down at the hands of George Wythe on Monday night. They had the short week, had to turn around and play against Holston on Friday, but Northwood was ready. That's right. They come back and scored 52 unanswered points, 2 touchdowns each for Eric Doan and Blake Olinger. Blake Olinger having a little bit of time to heal from that small tear that he's got going on. And that brings us to this question. Is he back to 100%? Well, we're not really sure against the
I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't think he'll be back to 100% in his high school career.
Yeah, that seems like an injury that probably needs a surgery to repair. But Northwood, they've got tonight off, so that'll get some time to think about some things, get some work in, get that offense steamrolling a little bit better if it can. We've seen it was a little bit inactive against George Wythe. So hopefully in this bye week they can get some things figured out as they got a couple of games left, and then they get ready for the state playoffs.
Yeah, and then it moves us to the game of the week last week. Marion versus Patrick Henry. We already gave you the score of that. Marion 54, Patrick Henry 21. It was actually seemed like it was a whole lot worse than that. That score sort of makes it sound like Marion broke away at the end, but really Marion was in control from the opening whistle. Sam Wagner had big play after big play, 130 yards rushing, 16 attempts, 2 touchdowns, and 1 receiving touchdown. I think one thing, though, I think PH did a better job with Wagner in the early going, just made a ton of mistakes at the start of that football game, and were really shocked to go down by 3 TDs.
It looked like defensively Patrick Henry had a pretty good idea of what they wanted to do, but seems like they tried to change some things up on offense, and really just the whole team was confused. You know, they had to waste a bunch of timeouts there in the first half early. They wasted their timeouts. Of course, that didn't help being down 21-0 really quick. That didn't help them get back in it. This score seems a little bit closer at 54-21, but Patrick Henry did get 2 scores in mop-up duty there at the end of the ball game to close that gap. It was 47-7 at halftime, the Marion lead.
Yeah,
and Patrick Henry gave up a score on a kickoff return.
Yeah. And then they gave up that score just before the half, about a 50-some-odd yard screen play to Sam Wagner, and that really sort of settled that game down as far as what PH wanted to do. PH still got production from their playmaker, Dakota Humphrey. Really just didn't get anything else, though, from the rest of the team. Humphrey had 167 yards on 19 carries and also had an interception. Pretty good night for the star for the Rebels, but takes a little bit more than one player to win against a 2A school and a great talent like Marion.
Patrick Henry gets a big-time opponent again tonight as they've traveled up to Wytheville to take on the George Wythe Rocky Ramoons, who have hit their stride. They've moved above 500 for the first time this season, sitting there at 4-3. So it's going to be a big-time battle. Again tonight, Patrick Henry will have their hands full. We'll see if they have any answers for Skeens.
Yeah, not a lot of people have had any answers for Trey Skeens, and that'll be a very interesting matchup. Let's go ahead and turn. Let's look at the Hoga-Higi District standings now after last week's action.
Go ahead.
Give
Give a disclaimer here that these are based by percentage. Marion will come in at first place at 5-1, but it's worth mentioning that they are done as far as Hoga-Higi District games go. Northwood is second. They have that win over Marion. They're sitting there at 3-1, so if they can win their last two Hoga-Higi District ball games, they will be your Hoga-Higi District champion, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That's just
even though they've lost to George Wythe.
Yeah, that's based on your head-to-head matchup with George Wythe, or with Marion. So Marion's at the top for now, but if Northwood wins, they're in control of their own destiny. They went out there as your Hogo champions for what it's worth. And third place, George Wythe Maroons, finally getting some sparks back on offense. George Wythe 2-1 in the Hogo, 4-3 overall for the first time this season. They're above 500. Moved to third place. They are tied with George Wythe, the Patrick Henry Rebels, 2-1, 4-3. A log jam there, but that'll all be decided tonight. Who will take over that sole spot there in third place as they will face off. In the 5-slot, Rural Retreat, who's 1-2 in the Hogo, 4-3 in overall standing, and they'll be facing off with the number 6 team here based on win percentage. The Holston Cavaliers are 0-3, 0-7. That's just based on the fact that the Cavaliers have only played 3 district games, while the Chilhowie Warriors are in 7th place, 0-4 in the district, 1-6 overall. That's the only difference there is Chilhowie's lost 4 games in the Hogo, and Holston's lost 3. And we do know Holston's winless, of course, but Chilhowie has that 1 win versus J.I. Burton. That's non-district. But that really doesn't matter as far as the way these standings come together. That is your top 7 there, or all your 7 in the Hogo. Marion 1, Northwood 2, George Wythe 3, Patrick Henry 3, Rural Retreat 5th, Holston 6th, and Chilhowie in last place. Travis, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about some games that really mean a lot. Patrick Henry versus George Wythe, and really that Holston Rural Retreat game. Those are your 2 district games tonight. We'll be getting updates from around the district, and those are your only 2 games, both Hogo games. Patrick Henry at George Wythe, 2 4-3, 2-1 teams in the Hogo will be dueling it out in Wytheville, and then Holston will be trying to get their first win of the season in Rural Retreat.
It'd be big for Rural Retreat to pick up this win tonight and move to guarantee themselves a 500 season. I think that would be pretty big under their new first-year head coach. That we didn't have a lot of expectations for Rural Retreat. We thought they would finish, or at least I did. I had them finishing in the bottom third of the district. As it stands right now, they look to be maybe move up into that top third. So that would be a pretty good adjustment by the Rural Retreat Indians. Holston, they need to win badly, but I don't really know if they're capable of getting it on the road tonight up in Wythe County. Yeah. And that Patrick Henry-George Wythe game, we hit on it just a second ago. Patrick Henry needs a win badly, but George Wythe's got momentum, and, of course, they got Trey Skeen, so I don't know if that's going to turn out well for them or not.
Yeah, that'll be tough sailing for the Patrick Henry Rebels. We'll just see how they can handle that tonight. Go ahead and talk a little bit about the matchup here that we are getting set to cover. Marion's out here stretching. They're in all red outfit here. Look pretty sharp in the all red. Union has on orange pants with white tops. So we'll break down the jerseys a little bit more here as we near the live game broadcast. But several weapons, like we said, with Union offensively at wide receiver. Right now they're just lobbing balls up from the 45-yard line down into the goal line area. So throwing the football is going to be something we haven't had a lot of this season. But now coming in week 9 here in the Hoga-Higi, coming in here as the Union Bears, they fling the ball 40 to 50 times a ball game. So definitely going to be a different sort of feel tonight as we don't have the ground and pound. They'll run it if they can, but they don't have any issues throwing the football.
No, I think we seen that the quarterback for Union, Tanner Hall, was throwing touchdown passes to 5 different receivers already this year. That's compared to most teams here in the Hoagie District. They usually have one go-to guy, and that's who they throw it to. For those of you who might be unfamiliar with Union High School, they come from Wise County. They've been in existence for 4 seasons now, and this is a combined school. When Wise County did their consolidation a few years ago, creating Union, Eastside, and Wise Central. And this is the combination of Powell Valley and Appalachia. So that ought to tell you a little something right there. 13 state championships between the two, 11 of them dating back to the mid-'80s. So that's a lot of titles, and they've got a lot of history there that they like to keep going at Union. Now, they've played some exciting games the last couple of weeks, some close ball games. As a matter of fact, I think they won on a bit of a controversial call there just 2 weeks ago against the Lehigh Generals. They won that game 33-30. And last week against cross-county rival Wise Central, that game shook out 29-22. So they've played some tight ones. The game at Richlands earlier in the season against the Blue Tornado, they just barely pulled that one out, 29-28. So they don't have a big wide margin of victory. And their one loss, they actually got blown out by a 4-2 Gate City team, 48-8. So Union, we don't know if they can run the ball any. They may just be an all-passing team, and where Marion does have a little bit of a combination of both. I think one thing that stands out is, if our count's correct, the Marion roster only has about 44 players on it compared to Union's almost 70.
63, I think.
Okay, 63. That's a big team, and they're all out on the field now, so we can see the big discrepancy, and they've got a big support staff and a coaching staff. And I tell you what, I'm looking forward to an exciting game. I think it's going to be, just like you mentioned, Dylan, a shootout. It's going to be fun to call. I hope we have a whole bunch of political dog, hot dog play the scoring drives tonight.
Yeah, you said you wanted 60. I don't know if we'll get that many, but hey, it can't be much worse than some of the – I mean, we won't want to have a lot of them for one team. We want to have a good variation there. Let's go ahead and talk about the playoff picture. I know a lot of people like that. On our website, we put up all the teams that are going as of this week to the playoffs, and go ahead and put the matchups that they could possibly be in if the season ended today. Of course, thankfully it doesn't, because we get to see a great matchup here tonight. But go ahead and let's talk about some of the things. This game tonight has a huge implication. Union is 4th in 1A or 2A West. Marion's 5th. They're wanting to stay in that top 8. Both these teams are, that they can get that home field advantage for the first round of the playoffs. This game means a lot.
Yeah, it means a lot, even though it's a non-district game. But the loser of this game.
Well, district, like we said, we had that conversation before. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't even matter. It's into the conferences now, which was this.
This could possibly be one of the more important games we call this season, if not the most important ball game, based on playoff implications and just based on what we're about to see. We're about to see 2 great offenses.
Yeah, both of these teams definitely won a home game, but that's really the magnitude of what's at stake, I guess, at this point. The loser's not necessarily out of anything other than they slipped down the ladder a couple of rungs. But it's going to give both of these teams an opportunity, or Union has played these teams all year. It's going to give Marion an opportunity to see how they stack up.
This game means a whole lot more to Marion, I think, in the aspect that, we've covered a lot of their games against 1A teams in the Hogahegie. Of course, they ran through PH last week, had to slip up against Northwood. Other than that, they've ran the table as they should, like we talked about. But, I mean, tonight they're playing somebody in the 2A, and they're going to be playing teams like this from here on out, Marion will be. But I think this game means a lot for them. And experience-wise, though, I think it's got to go to Union playing some tough teams like Richlands, like you said. They've played some talent here this season, and they've been able to shake out some wins, some tight wins against some of the best teams in Southwest Virginia. But with that, let's go ahead and do the playoff picture. 1A West standings. In 3rd place are the Northwood Panthers. They fell down a rung after falling to George Wythe there a couple of weeks ago. George Wythe, number 6 in the 1A West, so both those schools are eyeing a home playoff game there, the opening playoff week. Rural Retreat's in 11th place, and Patrick Henry has fell down to 13th. Still hanging on in the top 16, just out of the playoffs is number 19, Chilhowie. They've dropped 3 spots out now, so they definitely need some wins here to try to get back up into the playoff mix. And then I would consider out of the playoffs at this point, number 27, Holston, dead last in 1A West. They just need to get some wins, get some momentum going.
I just think unless there's a total breakdown in front of them, I believe Chilhowie's going to be out of the playoffs also. Now, they say numbers never lie, and neither does Corey. Corey Johnston, our third man in the group. He's not going to make it to be with us tonight, but he took care of crunching the numbers for us. And by his calculations, and we've got no reason not to believe him, he says Northwood is clinched, and they are in, so no danger in them missing the 1A West playoffs. So congratulations to the Northwood Panthers. Still remains to be seen if they would host a game, but you got to think with the 2 games remaining on their schedule, they've got a very good opportunity to finish this thing up at 9-1. But I just don't see Chilhowie being able to get back in. I don't see Holston getting in there. And right now in 2A West, like you mentioned, Marion is the number 5 seed. So this game is important on hosting a playoff game, and I guess it is important for determining who that first-round matchup will be against, getting that easier road on deep into the state playoffs. Yeah, right now, if the field were set, these would be your projected matchups. Northwood would be hosting that home game against East Montgomery County. George Wythe would be hosting a game against Clintwood. Rural Retreat would be on the road at Hurley. Patrick Henry would be on the road at Fort Chiswell. And Marion would host a game here on Hurricane Hill against Wise Central.
Hurricane Hill. Wise Central's a team that Union played last week and beat them 29-22. A surprisingly close game, but like you said, every game with Union this season up to this point has been fairly close other than a blowout loss by 40 points.
Yeah, I'm sure if everybody watches the news, they seen the highlights from that game 2 weeks ago, especially all over WCYB. There's some articles about it in the BHC, that game against the Lee Generals. Apparently that was a pretty exciting ball game there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I think I heard about 20 million, views. I might be over a little bit. Let's say 20,000.
Well, if you haven't seen it yet, you can, of course, get
add
on
to the tally there.
You can get on there and take a look at it. I'm sure you can find it online somewhere.
It's definitely a controversial play. They called it a touchdown, and we've got a 7-1 Union football team rolled into Marion. So with that, we're going to come up. We got Travis Terry back here behind us getting set to bring some great entertainment here to the show, and we'll do our predictions. He's got his history ready. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back for predictions on Hogo Game Day.
Come with me now. Come with me now. I'll take you down. Come with me now. I'll show you how.
Had a big play here. Snaps on the handoff. He breaks loose. He's past the 50. Down to about the 35, and he's knocked hard out of bounds by Riley Blevins. So that was a big-time hit by Riley.
Listen to our audio broadcast on your mobile device by downloading the Spreaker app through the Google Play Store for Android devices and on the App Store for iOS devices, and search for the Hoagie Heagie Network.
Come with me now. Come with me now. I'll take you down.
All right, welcome back to Marion High School. Another train's rolling through here, but with that, getting ready for this game between the Union Bears and the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes. These teams are both have one loss on the season. Travis Terry's here with us along with Travis the Bus. Thank you for coming on again, Travis. We didn't do the live video pregame, but
that's all right. Glad to be here.
But we're ready to do the live radio pregame. It's time for, I guess we'll go ahead and jump into predictions, and we'll go ahead and get Travis's keys to the game, too, as he gets set for the call of the game. But with that, let's go ahead and do the predictions for the first game on the ledger.
All right, well, first game we got coming up here on the ledger is Holston at Rural Retreat. Last year's game, Holston ended up beating Rural Retreat 41-18. The score was actually 13-12 at halftime, so Holston opened up the second half with 20 straight points. It was led by Seth Thomas, who ran for 2 touchdowns in that game. Historically, since 1975, again, that's as far back as my research goes, Rural Retreat leads the all-time series in that one, 27-11-1. Rural Retreat's won 11 straight from 96 to 2007. And 1975, the two teams tied 6-6. That was a real barn burner back in the 70s.
That was a high-scoring affair.
Oh, yeah. Last week, both teams, Rory Tree had the open week, and Holston suffered the loss to Northwood 52-7. So I guess we can jump into the picks now.
Well, you want to go ahead and do Coach Jay?
I will. I got to kind of agree with him. I think 42-14 actually sounds about right for this game.
Yeah, I feel that way, too. I think Rural Retreat, that running combination between Nolan Ryan and Stone Mullins coming off a bye week, I've got Rural Retreat in this ball game. But, I mean, if Holston can get back to where they're scoring like they were at the beginning of the year, they can give some teams a real run, but I'm not seeing it tonight over in Rural Retreat. I got the Indians.
Yeah, call me a copycat. I'm going to take Rural Retreat also. I like the 42-14 score. That sounds pretty good.
That sounds good. Coach Jay, he's a good one. We'll have to keep.
We're going to ride his coattails.
Yeah, we'll stay on him. That way we don't look stupid, right? Let's go ahead and turn to the next game, Patrick Henry and George Wythe.
Yeah, last year's game, George Wythe 42, Patrick Henry 21. Trey Skeens had 8 carries for 212 yards and 3 touchdowns. That might have been a player of the week last year, actually. PH, though, they had a good outing that week. They got 19 first downs, put up 203 yards rushing, just really couldn't stop George Wythe, but they were able to move the ball a little bit. Historically, they've played every year since 1990. That's when George Wythe joined the district. George Wythe leads the series 20-4. Right now, they're riding a 15 straight winning streak over the Rebels. PH's last win came in 1998, 34-6 win. And then just in the last 4 meetings, PH has scored just a total of 27 points, 21 of those in last year's contest. So George Wythe's done a pretty good job of holding the Rebels at bay. Last week, of course, Patrick Henry suffered the loss to Marion, 54-21. We were there for that one. And George Wythe pulled away from Chohawi late, 42-20 victory there. For the forum picks, I went ahead and I got another picker in there. I didn't want to just keep riding Coach Jay, so I went ahead. I got the second place guy in the pick'em, Old Crow. He got George Wythe in this one, 49-17. So he's predicting a pretty big win for George Wythe tonight. Personally, I think it's going to be something more like 35-14. I like Patrick Henry keeping it close until halftime, and George Wythe kind of pulling away with the Trey machine, or whatever nickname you want to give him.
Train.
The Skeensinator, Choo-Choo Train, Train Skeens. I mean, yeah.
There's just so many different things you can call him because he just does it all.
He does it all.
I think, after seeing PH last week, I was very disappointed in the way they came out against Marion. I would expect them to come out a little bit better this week and not let the emotions get to them and not let turnovers get to them. If they play a clean football game, it can be close. But, I mean, what we're looking at, we've seen 2 different PH teams this year. Me and Travis have done broadcasts. All of us have been there. A PH team that really just beat the socks off of Rural Retreat. Did not play anything like the same Patrick team. Didn't even look like the same team last week against Marion. I think George Wythe wins this thing by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like you, I feel like it can be close to halftime if the turnovers don't happen. But until PH proves to play good against great competition, that's the difference in being a mid-level team and being the best in the district. I think George Wythe's still the gold standard in the Hogo.
Yeah, I believe they're still the team to beat. I don't think Skeens is going to get almost 300 yards rushing tonight against that Rebel defense. That was one bright spot, even though the score may not reflect it last week. PH did a pretty good job against the running game. I think that'll hold true tonight. We'll see what kind of a job Coach Palmer and his staff was able to do to get them back together for tonight. I think they will keep it close also. I'm going to say that George Wythe wins this game 49-35. I think it's 2 scores, but I think both teams put a lot of points up.
Now let's go ahead and turn to the Union game right now and go ahead and give your keys to the ball game. 2 explosive offenses. Marion's Sam Wagner against a great stable of wide receivers there at Union. Go ahead and give your keys to the game.
Well, yeah, of course, we've mentioned before, we got 2 top 5 teams in the 2A West standings playing tonight here on the Hogo Network. We're live from Marion, Virginia for this game against the visiting Union Bears and the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes. Keys for Union, they've got to start fast, and they got to give Hall time in the pocket to complete passes. He's got plenty of guys to throw it to, so if the offensive line can hold up, they can move the ball down the field in a hurry. Defensively for Union, however, they got to figure out a way to slow down Sam Wagner. We know once he gets rolling, gets going downhill, it takes a lot to bring him down. Keys to the game for Marion. They've got a lot of experience in the secondary, and they're going to be tested tonight. They got seniors back there. They'll have to play solid, mistake-free football. Don't give up the big plays to Union. Make them drive the length of the field. Slow the game down. Control the tempo when you have the ball, too, with Sam Wagner. If you don't want this game to get into a shootout, take your time, put together some long, methodical drives, keep the ball on the ground, and try to keep Union's offense off the field.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be either it's going to be a shootout or Marion's going to try to play some ball control. That's yet to be seen. We'll have to see. Kickoff, of course, coming up at 7:30. Travis, go ahead and give us your history.
All right, well, last year's game, Union came away with that one 20-13. It was a close one. At the time, it was a big surprise that Marion kept it so close. Last year, Union had that big run, and everyone was kind of looking for that one to be kind of a beatdown. Union's Mekia Davis, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he had 126 yards on 17 carries last year. Marion was down 14-13 late and had a couple chances to pull ahead, but weren't able to. Historically, this is the second all-time meeting between the two schools, obviously, but even when it was Powell Valley and Appalachia, Marion didn't visit there often, and they didn't visit here often, so it's still a pretty fresh team, fresh competition for the Hurricanes. Last week, Marion over Patrick Henry, 54-21, and a bit of a surprise last week, and you kind of wonder if Wise Central was a little bit of a trap game for Union. They came out a little flat and only won that one 29-22. A lot of people were expecting a lot worse, so yeah, so we can presume maybe they were looking ahead to Marion, no one's sure. Forum picks, another one that's tied for second place in the pick'em, Panther 96. He has Union in this one, 21-14. I think it'd be a game that close, and it might be the closest game we've seen all year. We haven't had much luck in getting that one possession game late that we've been looking for. This one might be it, actually, and I might flip the score. I might say Marion 21, Union 14. I like the playmakers that Marion has, and obviously I haven't seen Union play, but having seen how many points Marion can put up in a short amount of time, you got to like their chances even if they're down late. They have a good passing game. They have obviously a good running game, and I think defensively, if you flip that on the other side, Riley Blevins and Aaron Garrison guarding some of those big stud receivers that they were lauding earlier this morning in the paper, you got to think that Marion stands a pretty good chance at deflecting some passes or maybe even getting a few picks and turn the tide. So I like the Canes in a close one.
Yeah, I think we're set for a good game. DeBusk, who you got?
All right, we are the Hoagie Network, so I got to stay with the Hogo team. I'm going to pick Marion in the win. It's going to be close. It's going to be 35-31, Scarlet Hurricane.
Yeah, I really hadn't made any choice up to this point, but to pick a winner, I think we're going to have, the passing game is going to be fun to watch. I think there'll be some mistakes from Union. That being said, give me the Hurricanes. I got the Hurricanes in a shootout, 41-38. I'm wanting a close game so bad.
Close and high scoring.
Close and high scoring. I want to have an exciting one here in Smith County. But with that, that's going to wrap up our pregame show. Make sure you tune back in. We're going to go live at, probably about 7:15 when we'll go back on and go ahead and give you the starting lineups and all that. So join us again here in about 15 minutes at 7:15 as we get set for kickoff live from Marion Senior High School. With that, for the pregame show, this is Dylan Hunt along with Travis Terry and Travis DeBusk, and on the computer, Mr. Andy Brown and Will Seidel. We'll be right back.